Cancer, you know exactly what was taken from you. I don't need to tell you, because your heart remembers. Every breath reminds you of that emptiness burning inside your chest. It is not just absence, it is a wound. A wound no one else can see, but one you touch in your mind dozens of times each day. Someone, or something, did not simply take from you. They tore it apart. They shattered what was precious. They trampled what should have been sacred. And you were left holding an invisible scar, bleeding silently where the world could not see. Tell me, Cancer, have you ever wondered why your spirit carries this scar so heavily? Why destiny would allow such cruelty, such injustice, to fall upon you? You didn't deserve it. And yet, it marked you. It shaped you. It tried to define you. But listen carefully, because here lies the mystery that most overlook. What was ripped away from you is not gone. Energy cannot be destroyed. What you lost has not vanished into the void, it has been transmuted. It waits, hidden in the shadows of your soul, ready to return in a form you never expected. And that is why you are here, listening now. Because the wound you carry is not a curse, it is a compass. It is pointing you toward the truth you were never meant to miss. This is Buddhist Teachings, a channel where we uncover the hidden wisdom behind your struggles, where astrology, spirituality, and ancient truth converge to awaken the strength already inside you. Before we step deeper into this journey, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who may need this message, and subscribe to our channel. Your support is what gives us the strength to continue bringing light into these dark corners of the human heart. Now, let us begin. 1. Tenfold. The return of what was taken from Cancer. There was a night when the house felt too quiet, like a cathedral after the choir has gone. Echoes without voices, chairs without bodies, warmth without flame. You knew something had been lifted from your life, not just misplaced but removed, like a tide that withdrew farther than any fisherman remembered. I won't pretend to name it for you. Grief is as specific as a key. But I will walk beside you as we follow the thread it left behind, because the moon that rules Cancer does not simply take and vanish. She recedes to reveal what was hidden in the sand, then she returns, higher and stronger, and with her comes what is yours. We tell ourselves that time heals, but that is only half the truth. Time teaches. It teaches your heart the geometry of boundaries, your body the choreography of no, your spirit the ancient science of tides and thresholds. In your 40s, 50s, 70s, you do not abandon hope, you curate it. You learn to bless the door and also to lock it, to pour tea for a guest and also to ask them to leave when dusk hardens into night. You realize that compassion without edges is not compassion. It is erosion. This is how Cancer, the mythical keeper of hearth and lineage, transforms a house into a sanctuary and a history into a vow. Some say what leaves never returns, but that belongs to a younger myth. The elder story, the one whispered by grandmothers polishing old photographs and by sailors charting the moonlit Gulf Stream, says that what is rightful will find its way home when the steward is ready. I think of Harriet Tubman consulting the stars, of an Odysseus who learns humility before touching any harbor, of everyday saints who kept singing while the roof leaked. Loss is a stern teacher, but it tutors a fluency you could never buy in comfort. The fluency of protection, of discernment, of listening for the tiniest hinge turning on the door of destiny. Here is the hinge. The thing taken is coming back, tenfold. Not as a fragile echo of the past, but as a matured, multiplied form of itself. Opportunities return with allies attached. Love returns with language it once lacked. Health returns with rituals that guard it. Creativity returns with contracts, calendars, and clean mornings. The first time, it arrived to an open shore. The second time, it meets a lighthouse you built with sober hands. This is not spiritual wish casting, it is spiritual weather. Tides respond to gravity, and the moon is on your side. You have changed. You no longer apologize for taking up space at your own table. You no longer loan your peace to anyone who can't keep a promise. You understand that forgiveness is not amnesia. It is a well-lit boundary with a gate that latches. You speak softly because you can, not because you must. And when fear knocks, you do not hide. You step outside with a lantern of experience and discover it is only wind tangled in the hedges. I've watched Cancer souls reclaim what once slipped through gentler fingers. A woman in her 60s who thought music left her after divorce finds a church piano on a Tuesday morning and realizes her hands remember every hymn. A grandfather sets aside a chair at Sunday dinner for possibility, and into that seat walks a reconciled son. A survivor who once censored their voice begins a small newsletter. It reaches one neighbor, then 10, then a town. This is how tenfold looks in real life, not fireworks, but a steady procession of candles, each one lighting the next until the room is honest again. And this time, you will protect it. Not with walls of stone, but with the living architecture of choices. You will schedule what matters, bless what enters, and escort to the door what doesn't. You will keep the key on a ribbon over your heart and remember that your ribcage is already a vault. You will treat your gifts like heirlooms that future hands will hold. That is the covenant of return. The universe restores, and you steward. As your guide and your companion, I offer this simple benediction, both commentary and education for the soul. You were never emptied to be punished, you were cleared to be prepared. What was taken comes back multiplied because you have multiplied. When the tide swells at your feet, do not doubt the water. Step in. Let it rise. Lift what is yours with both hands and meet it with the strength you have earned in the long, moonlit interval. Tonight, the house does not feel empty. It sounds like a choir warming up. It smells like bread. It looks like home. 2. From wounds to wonders. Cancer's alchemy of pain into power. There comes a time in every life when loss cuts so deeply that it feels as though the air itself has turned heavy. Cancer, you know this intimately. The betrayals, the silences, the sudden vanishing of someone or something you held dear, these moments carved valleys inside your chest. And yet, what feels like devastation is not an ending. It is the beginning of a transformation, so ancient and so sacred, that it has been written about since the first myths of humanity. Think of the blacksmith's forge, raw iron placed in fire, hammered until sparks fly, reshaped under the weight of blows. The iron could curse the hammer, it could curse the flames. But without them, it would remain brittle, unformed, unable to become a blade sharp enough to protect or a tool strong enough to build. The pain that struck you, the words that wounded you, the promises broken, these were not meant to destroy you. They were meant to refine you. History tells us that the greatest souls carried their scars as proof of their power. Joan of Arc was betrayed by those who once praised her, yet her voice ignited a movement that never truly died. Nelson Mandela lost decades of his life behind bars, and yet emerged with a strength uncorrupted, turning bitterness into vision. Cancer, in your own way, you are walking in that lineage. The wound you bear is not a mark of weakness, it is your initiation. Every lie told against you, every hand that struck you down, every door slammed in your face, these were the chisels shaping you into something that cannot be broken. The world may have believed it was burying you, but in truth, it was planting you. Like the seed pressed into soil, forced into darkness, you were never meant to rot. You were meant to root, and then rise. And here is the paradox that only the wounded understand. Your pain is not just yours. It connects you to a collective ocean of human suffering, and in that ocean, you become a lighthouse. Others who have endured betrayal and loss look at you and find courage, because you are proof that devastation can become devotion, that heartbreak can open the very door to healing. Your scar becomes a map, guiding those who feel lost in the storm. The one who hurt you may believe they won. But the truth is this. They were only a catalyst. They were fire striking flint, and you, Cancer, are the spark. You are the alchemist who turns grief into grace, who transforms the ashes of what was lost into a new kind of light. And light, once born, cannot be stolen. This is where psychology and astrology intertwine. The Cancerian soul, deeply intuitive, often carries the weight of memory longer than most. You do not forget easily. But memory is not a prison. It is a reservoir. It allows you to understand patterns, to anticipate shadows, to nurture others with the empathy you earned the hard way. This is not a curse, it is your sacred gift. So let me ask you, gently but firmly, what if your pain was never meant to diminish you? What if it was meant to reveal the magnitude of your spirit? Each time you rise after being shattered, you prove a universal law, that energy is never destroyed, only transformed. And so it is with you. You have been transmuted, reshaped, and prepared for something larger than the wound itself. From this moment forward, let every scar remind you of what you survived, not what you lost. Let every betrayal remind you that truth burns brighter when tested by lies. And let every ending remind you that your story is still unfolding, with chapters that no thief, no enemy, no storm can erase. Cancer, you are not broken. You are the blade forged by fire, the diamond carved by pressure, the seed reborn from the soil. Your pain was the forge, but your spirit is the masterpiece. And now, it is time to rise, not as the wounded one, but as the unshakable force you were always destined to be. 3. Cancer's sacred return. What was lost, what will rise again? There are seasons in life when something precious slips through our hands, sometimes so quietly that we don't even realize it's gone until the silence becomes unbearable. For Cancer, the soul ruled by the moon, these losses are not just practical, they are tidal. They pull at the heart in waves, leaving behind questions, echoes, and a lingering ache. But here is the truth. What was lost does not disappear forever. It circles back, transformed, arriving with greater strength, greater depth, and a promise that this time, you will be ready to hold it. For those born in the final days of June into the first breaths of July, the wound often runs deepest in the landscape of love and trust. You may know what it means to watch the light dim inside your chest, to question whether tenderness can ever feel safe again. Perhaps a betrayal cracked the foundation, or maybe a silence where words once lived left the heart unmoored. Yet destiny is not finished. The very love that seemed to vanish is returning, and with it comes a courage you did not possess before. Courage to be loved without shrinking, courage to be held without apology, courage to let your heart shine even when the past whispers its doubts. The return is not just of love, it is the return of your rightful light. For those born in mid-July, the story takes on another hue. The moon in your chart has often been tested through loss of security. Careers that shifted beneath your feet, finances that vanished overnight, or the sudden collapse of a foundation you thought unshakable. I have seen this pattern in many Cancer souls of your season. The feeling of building carefully, only to watch the storm tear it apart. But storms are not endings, they are awakenings. What comes back to you now is abundance, not just in wealth, but in the recognition of your worth. Opportunities multiply, doors once closed swing wide, and the respect you craved shows up in ways that cannot be ignored. This time, you walk into success not as a guest at someone else's table, but as the architect of your own hall. And for those who enter the world in the late days of July, your greatest ache has been tied to freedom, creativity, and the fearless expression of who you are. At some point, life may have pressed its weight on you. Responsibilities that silenced your art, expectations that clipped your wings, judgments that taught you to dim your own fire. That loss of expression is not a small thing. It is the theft of breath itself. But the universe is not finished with you. What returns is a current of creativity so strong it cannot be denied. The spark is not a flicker. It is a blaze. Your words, your art, your laughter, your presence. These will draw others near, not because you ask for attention, but because your authenticity becomes magnetic. The freedom you thought was lost will become your anthem, and the world will feel it. This is what fascinates me most about Cancer. The way loss does not diminish you, but prepares you. The moon teaches through cycles, waning only to wax, darkening only to promise light. When something leaves, it is not punishment. It is a rehearsal for the moment it returns stronger. And each Cancer, in their own season, is being prepared for that return. I believe this is why so many Cancers carry a quiet wisdom in their 40s, 50s, 70s. They have seen how the heart can break and heal, how security can vanish and rebuild, how freedom can be stolen and reclaimed. Their lives become living libraries, filled with chapters of resilience. And it is this resilience that makes the return so powerful. Love returns to a heart that now knows its worth. Abundance returns to a soul that has learned discernment. Creativity returns to a spirit that refuses to be silenced again. So, Cancer, I say this not as a fortune teller but as a fellow traveler. What was lost will return, and when it does, you will be the steward of it. The universe has written this covenant into your very bones. The tide that once pulled away is swelling toward your shore again, and this time, you will not watch it slip through your fingers. You will stand in the water, arms open, ready to receive. And when it comes, May you remember, it was never gone forever. It was waiting for you to become strong enough, wise enough, and brave enough to keep it. 4. The hidden blessing of loss. Cancer's path to eternal strength. There comes a moment in every Cancer's life when the silence after loss feels heavier than the loss itself. A relationship fades, a dream collapses, a certainty dissolves, and what remains is the echo, the emptiness that seems to stretch into eternity. But here is the paradox, the quiet truth that only time and spirit can reveal. Loss is not a punishment. It is a purification. The tides of your soul, ruled by the moon, do not take without reason. They carry away what was never strong enough to last, leaving space for what is eternal to rise. To see loss as cruelty is to look only with wounded eyes. To see it as alchemy is to look with wisdom. Think of how fire purifies gold, how storms reshape coastlines, how pruning allows a tree to bear sweeter fruit. In the same way, what was removed from your life, be it trust betrayed, a job that collapsed, or the illusion of security, was not taken to break you. It was taken to refine you. The temporary falls away so that the indestructible can reveal itself. And Cancer, you more than any sign understand the art of holding on. Your gift is memory. Your instinct is protection. But sometimes the universe intervenes because you hold too tightly to things that were only meant to be passing teachers. In losing them, you are not stripped bare, you are strengthened. Like a warrior who builds calluses, like a singer who learns to breathe from the diaphragm after her voice breaks, you emerge with what I call emotional antibodies. These are not walls, they are wisdom. They do not harden you. They immunize you against the terror of loss itself. What I have witnessed in Cancers of age, 40s, 60s, 70s, is this remarkable resilience. They do not deny pain, but they are no longer defined by it. They carry grief the way sailors carry maps, not as a burden, but as a guide. They remember storms, and because of that memory, they trust the stars. And here is where your soul psychology reveals itself. You have turned pain into pattern recognition. You know when something is fragile before it breaks. You can feel when love is true before it even speaks. You understand the difference between glitter and gold because you have watched both slip through your hands. Loss, then, becomes a spiritual vaccine. It does not prevent the next challenge, but it equips you to face it with a different posture. You do not cower, you calibrate. You do not beg, you discern. You do not break, you bend, and in bending you discover your unshakable spine. This is why so many Cancers, after the most difficult chapters, begin to glow with a calm authority. They no longer fear the night because they carry the moonlight inside. History, too, confirms this truth. Entire civilizations have risen stronger after devastation. Rome rebuilt after fire, Japan after Hiroshima, cities after earthquakes. Out of rubble grows architecture that can withstand storms. Out of brokenness grows cultures that honor endurance. In the same way, out of your personal loss grows a life no longer vulnerable to the same collapse. You are not merely surviving, you are evolving. And so, my friend, if you are listening tonight with a tender heart, I want you to hear this clearly. The pain you carry is not wasted. It has been rewiring your spirit, teaching your nervous system that emptiness is not the end but the invitation. What is meant for you, love that is steadfast, abundance that is sustainable, freedom that is authentic, can never be stolen. What leaves is only what could not last. What remains is the eternal blueprint of your soul, written in light and protected by the tides. As your guide and companion on this path, I invite you to see your losses not as scars, but as signatures. They mark you as someone who has endured, someone who has shed what was false, someone who has been prepared for the return of what is true. You are not fragile glass. You are tempered steel, forged in fire, cooled in the waters of memory, polished by time. And when life circles back with gifts stronger than the ones you lost, you will not be afraid to receive them. You will cradle them with reverence, not fear. You will guard them with wisdom, not obsession. And you will finally understand that the greatest treasure Cancer carries is not what the world gives or takes away, but the unshakable sanctuary you have built within. 5. Rebirth and the unbreakable power of Cancer. There are moments in life when the universe seems to strip everything away, moments when you wonder if you will ever stand whole again. And yet, Cancer, here you are, walking not as a shadow of what you lost, but as the living proof that rebirth is possible. The tides that once dragged you under have now carried you to a shore you never thought you would reach. And in this season of your life, you are not merely recovering. You are rising, transformed into something stronger, deeper, more luminous than before. Rebirth is never a polite process. It does not ask for your permission, nor does it come wrapped in softness. It begins with fire, with storms, with nights so heavy that you question if the sun will ever rise again. For Cancer, those nights were not abstract, they were lived. The betrayal that hollowed your chest, the silence that left you questioning your worth, the emptiness that echoed in your home, all of it felt like an ending. But in truth, it was the first chapter of your resurrection. History reminds us that every era of renewal is preceded by devastation. The great cities of Rome rose after flames reduced them to ash. The phoenix, in every myth and every culture, must burn before it can spread its wings anew. And so it is with you, Cancer. What you lost was not meant to reduce you. It was meant to clear the ground for a foundation that could not be shaken. And look at what is already unfolding. Love, when it returns to you, does not come in fragile fragments. It comes fuller, deeper, carrying with it a sacred maturity. It is no longer the shallow affection of convenience but the rooted devotion of souls that recognize each other. Prosperity, too, no longer drips in cautious measures. It arrives as abundance, because your wounds have carved out space inside you big enough to hold it. And faith, the faith you once thought shattered, now returns like a fortress, unmovable, unshakable, born from surviving what should have broken you. What fascinates me most, both as a scholar of the stars and as a student of human psychology, is the way suffering becomes the sculptor of resilience. Cancer, by nature, you are tender, deeply feeling, often misunderstood as fragile. Yet the truth hidden in your archetype is this. Water is the softest element, and yet it wears down mountains. It carves valleys, reshapes landscapes, and carries entire civilizations on its back. That is your power, gentleness mistaken for weakness, when in reality it is the most unstoppable force of all. I believe we live in an age where people confuse strength with hardness. But you, Cancer, are the living contradiction. Your strength is not in building walls around your heart, it is in keeping your heart open despite the risks. To have loved and lost, and yet still love again, is to possess a courage far greater than the one who never dared at all. To have been betrayed, and yet still trust, is to live with a power that cannot be conquered. This is why your story matters. Because you show the world that pain is not the end of the story, it is the alchemy that transforms an ordinary existence into a life of profound meaning. You become a mirror for others who are still in the dark night, whispering to them, "Hold on, because your dawn is coming. I have seen it. I have lived it. And so will you." So let the world know this. Cancer has been reborn. Not as the victim of loss, but as the architect of renewal. Not as the one who was broken, but as the one who turned fragments into a mosaic more beautiful than the original. You are living evidence that what is taken from us can be returned in greater measure, richer and more enduring than we ever imagined. And from this moment forward, you are no longer defined by what was lost. You are defined by the miracle of what was created in its place. You are the rebirth, the rising, the unstoppable tide. Cancer, you are the unbreakable. Cancer, this is the moment where the circle closes, not in silence but in triumph. You began this journey carrying the weight of what was torn from you, a wound that once seemed unbearable. But now, as the dust settles, the truth stands tall. What was taken from you is returning tenfold, stronger, brighter, more powerful than before. And this time, it will not be touched, because you have learned to protect it with the strength of someone who has walked through fire and discovered they cannot be burned. Your loss was never the ending. It was the shaping. Every fracture, every tear, every night you questioned if you could go on. Those were the chisels carving a new you, one that is no longer fragile but forged. You have not simply survived. You have evolved. You are not who you were before the pain. You are the version of yourself who can never again be broken in the same way. You are unshakable. You are unbreakable. Remember this. Seeds watered with your tears will soon bloom into forests. Every moment you thought was wasted, every hope you thought had died, is sprouting roots beneath the surface, ready to rise in ways that will leave even you in awe. This is not imagination. This is preparation turning into harvest. The universe has not abandoned you. It has been preparing you to carry blessings so vast that the smaller versions had to be cleared away. And now, I ask you not to keep this awakening silent. Declare it. Write in the comments, "I am a Cancer in transformation and I am ready to recover my power multiplied." When you do, you're not only affirming your own rebirth, you're lighting a torch that another Cancer, still lost in the dark, may see and follow. Together, we create a chorus of resilience, a reminder that no one walks this path alone. So stand tall. What was once taken is already on its way back, magnified, purified, unstoppable. You are not at the end of your story. You are at the threshold of a new beginning. And this time, you don't just rise. You rise as proof that nothing, and no one, can ever diminish the power of a Cancer reborn.